After being bound by the class beauty's soul exchange system, I first used scissors to slash my own exquisite face, then, with a swift motion, my left palm was severed. Finally, I jumped from the building, breaking both legs and vomiting blood, falling into unconsciousness. Not long after, our souls swapped and our bodies switched places. My eyes burned with venom. You like switching, huh? I'll make sure you get your fill of it. At the moment, I sat before the dressing table, gazing at my stunning reflection in the mirror, weeping with joy. Everything felt so real. I knew I had been reborn. In the next second, my face turned pale with terror. No, after being bound by the class beauty's soul-swapping system, there's no escape, no way to break free. I'm doomed to lose this body again. I looked at the wall clock. It was exactly 11 o'clock, and only 1 hour remained until I and the class beauty swapped souls. By then, this body of mine would still become hers, just as it did in my previous life. For a moment, I was lost. The thought of the tragic fate after my soul was swapped in my previous life sends chills down my spine, making me tremble uncontrollably. What should I do? My heart is filled with despair. My unfocused eyes suddenly shift to a family portrait. In the photo, I sit in the center. Dad, Mom, and my older brother surround me. The whole family is smiling brightly, utterly happy. But when I saw the three of them, a chill spread through my limbs and bones, colder than the moment when the class beauty switched souls. Too, in my previous life, after being possessed by the class beauty, Lin Xia, I fell into an utterly insane state. I rushed into the house in Lin Xia's body, accusing her of her crimes. Tell them that I am the real daughter of my parents, the good younger sister of my brother. Unfortunately, I was violently pushed out. Of course, I didn't give up. I chased after them again and again, trying to block their way. However, what I received was even more merciless beatings. They called me a complete lunatic. Later, Lin Xia brought my family's bodyguards and cornered me in an alley, breaking my leg. I screamed at them to have the guts to kill me. Lin Xia stepped on my chest with her foot, her face contorted, gnashing her teeth. No, Wen Shuyao, I want you to live well, to watch me enjoy your wealth and everything you have, to make you suffer unbearably for the rest of your life. Why are you the school belle, while I'm just the class beauty? Why are you a rich heiress, while I'm just a farm girl? Do you know, I hate seeing you so nonchalant and carefree, spending money without blinking an eye. It makes me so anxious I can't even sleep. But now everything you have is mine. Ha ha ha, I wailed and cried, but no one showed me pity. Lin Xia's parents took me to the hospital and took meticulous care of me, but I told them to get lost. A sudden inspiration struck me, and I found Lin Xia, who had taken over my body, threatening her, switch us back immediately, or I'll make sure your parents suffer terribly. Lin Xia burst into laughter. Be my guest. Those poor excuses for parents were always my shame. Go ahead, and I promise I won't call the police after you finish them off. Hearing this, I was utterly devastated. Thinking of this, I quickly opened the drawer. I pulled out a photo from the diary. In the photo, a handsome young man was hugging me. His gaze at me was tender and infatuated. Shen Yuxuan, my fiancé, once the love of my life. Yet in my eyes, there was an overwhelming surge of bone-deep hatred. In my past life, I truly died a miserable death. I stared fixedly at Shen Yuxuan's photo, my teeth grinding audibly. I still remember, when I was thrown out of the Wen family by my brother again, I was knocked unconscious. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself in a dark basement. I was terrified, but then I saw Shen Yuxuan. I was overwhelmed with joy, tears streaming down my face as I poured out my heart to him, telling him our unique little secret, revealing that I was the real daughter of the Wen family, and asking him to help me. Shen Yuxuan smiled faintly. Of course I know, you're the real Wen Shuyao. Just when I thought I had finally made it through, he suddenly changed the tone. Do you think your parents don't know? Do you think your brother doesn't know? The current Wen Shuyao has lost all her grace. She can't play the piano, has forgotten how to draw, and sings like a duck. Such obvious changes. People aren't fools. They can't fail to notice. I looked dazed. Then why don't they acknowledge me? Shen Yuxuan casually took off his clothes, curling his lips. The alliance between the Wen and Shen families is the top priority. Since Lin Xia has taken over your body, she's the one who benefits. But for me, conquering your soul is what matters most. With that, he violated me despite my screams and resistance. Thus, in the pitch-black basement, I endured endless humiliation and torment from Shen Yuxuan. One day finally came. I saw my brother in the basement. With my last hope, I begged him for help, because I never believed what Shen Yuxuan said. I didn't believe that my biological parents and brother would abandon me after recognizing me. Little did I know, My brother was utterly cold-hearted and kicked me away. Wen Shuyao, since your soul has been swapped, then this is fate, you must accept fate, my sister's soul. Who it belongs to doesn't matter, what matters is that her body can bring endless benefits to the Wen family, so serve Shen Yushuan well, and consider it your contribution to the Wen family. At this point, my last glimmer of hope was completely shattered. I stopped eating and drinking, like a living corpse, until I was strangled to death by the furious Shen Yushuan, for the memories faded away, my heart strangely fell into calm, the excitement of being reborn vanished instantly, leaving no trace. So what if I've cracked the soul-switching system, with a family and fiancé like this? Who would even want them? My gaze was blank, devoid of any emotion. I glanced at the wall clock. It wasn't far from 12 as expected. The class beauty Lin Xia was already standing at the entrance of my villa, waiting. I curled my red lips into a smile. You like changing, right? Then I'll let you change enough. My right hand had already reached the scissors on the table. In the mirror, I looked at my beautiful face without a trace of attachment in my eyes. The next moment, the sharp scissors plunged directly into the skin of my face. Blood gushed out, slowly flowing. Intense pain surged through me, yet I remained silent, because this pain, compared to the agony of my past life, was nothing but a trivial matter. Utterly incapable of stirring my numb nerves, a streak of blood appeared on my face. Following the glide of the scissors, I didn't stop. 1, 2, 3, I didn't stop until my face was covered in blood. Beyond recognition, I smiled silently, and the blood flowed even more fiercely. I stood up and walked toward the door. At that moment, the room was completely silent. I walked from the 4th floor to the 3rd floor, hearing the sounds of intimacy between a man and a woman coming from my brother's room. My gaze remained indifferent and unmoved. I went up to the 2nd floor, where my parents were already sound asleep. Without pausing or feeling the slightest attachment, I headed back down to the 1st floor. Blood kept flowing, splattering everywhere I passed. I walked past the maid's room and entered the kitchen, where I spotted the bone cleaver hanging on the wall. Without a moment's hesitation, I grabbed it, then I pressed my left palm against the cutting board. The next second, I raised the knife and brought it down. The cleaver flashed like a cold gleam, from top to bottom. It came down hard on my palm. In an instant, my left hand was severed at the wrist. The cleaver is very sharp, excellent quality. The gushing blood made my head spin. I grabbed a cloth and tightly stuffed it over the severed hand. I bit down hard on my tongue. Barely regaining a sliver of consciousness, I began to turn back, moving slowly toward the stairs. Back in my room, I climbed onto the window. I saw a familiar figure standing under the distant lights. Lin Xia, you're here, I murmured to myself, overwhelmed with excitement. I glanced back at the clock. 10 seconds to 12 o'clock. No more hesitation. I leapt from the air. My legs hit the ground, the crisp crack of broken bones echoing sharply in the night. Both legs shattered, left hand severed, face disfigured. You're going to love this body. Then, I fell into a coma. 5. The coma lasted less than a second. I felt my body lighten. My soul floated into the air. The excruciating pain in my body also vanished. I saw myself, covered in blood and unconscious. I saw the bodyguards in the shadows shouting and rushing forward in a frenzy. In an instant, a pulling force came. My soul visibly entered Lin Xia's body. I flexed my hands, glanced at my new body, and slightly curled my lips, saying, "Long time no see." The villa was now bustling with noise and excitement. The mournful cries of my parents and the wails of my brother rose and fell in an endless stream. I chuckled darkly, turned my head, and walked away. This life, I've also been possessed, but I want a completely different way of living. Of course, with the Wen family's immense wealth, I believe my original body will definitely not die. What I look forward to most next is seeing Lin Xia's expression when she regains consciousness. I also wonder how my parents and brother will treat this broken Wen Shuyao. As for Shen Yushuan, you tell everyone that you love me like your life, so, do you still like this broken body? 6. I'm leaving. Following the memories from my past life, I arrived at Lin Xia's home. I took out the key, opened the door, and met 2 pairs of eagerly waiting eyes. Xia. This was a middle-aged couple with plain, honest features. They both stood up at the same time, carefully looking at me. Their eyes showed anxiety and cautiousness. These 2 were Lin Xia's biological parents. In my previous life, I had interacted with them. At that time, I had just had my legs broken, and they were weeping uncontrollably. They borrowed money everywhere to gather enough for my medical expenses. Then, day and night, she stayed by my hospital bed, never leaving my side. Even in the face of my insults and physical attacks, she never retaliated verbally or physically, standing by me without complaint or Regret, until I was taken away by Shin Yuxuan, I never saw them again. Lin Xiao's family came from the countryside and now rents an apartment in the city, with both parents working at a nearby factory. Everything they did, I could see, was for Lin Xia to get a good education. I could truly feel their selfless love for Lin Xia. That's why in my previous life, I used them to threaten Lin Xia. I never expected that Lin Xia would see them as a disgrace, wishing I had killed them in my previous life, just before death. I thought of my parents' and brother's heartlessness. I also recalled the unreserved love that Lin Xiao's parents had for their daughter. In contrast, an indescribable emotion accompanied me as I approached death. 7. Xiaxia, are you hungry? Mom will make you a bowl of noodles. Okay, Lin Xiao's mother asked me with a tense expression. I looked up at her. She forced a smile, her eyes filled with concern and anticipation. Okay, I'm hungry, I nodded. She was overjoyed. Great, Mom. We'll make it for you right away. She ran into the kitchen with great delight, as if she had encountered some tremendous joy. Lin Xiao's dad was the same, quickly running to the fridge and pulling out a bag of lychees. Xia, these are the lychees I bought today. Come eat them quickly. They're chilled and delicious. I didn't say a word, just took them and started peeling and eating. Lin Xiao's dad immediately grinned from ear to ear. Clearly, Lin Xia usually didn't treat them well. Now I'm just accepting their efforts, yet they act as if they're overwhelmed with gratitude. At this moment, I increasingly understand the living environment Lin Xia is in. Mom and Dad's love for her knows no bounds, reaching the point of giving whatever she asks for, yet she still looks down on her parents, despising them for being too poor. The head of this household could just as well be Lin Xia. As long as Lin Xia gave her parents a little kindness, they would be overjoyed to the point of forgetting themselves. Seems like this family isn't so bad after all. A thought followed immediately. I didn't resist this feeling. In fact, I somewhat enjoyed it. I was indeed hungry and finished eating quickly. Mom, this bowl of noodles is really delicious. A single sentence actually made Lin Xiao's parents start wiping away tears. Woo-woo. As long as you like it, Mom will make it for you every day. Xia. As long as you don't dislike me and your dad, we're willing to do anything for you, even be your ox or horse. We'll work hard to earn more money. We'll definitely buy you brand name things, give you lots of pocket money. Just give Mom and Dad a little more time, okay? Lin Xiao's mother opened the floodgates of conversation, growing more and more emotional, until she was nearly swearing to the heavens by the end. Lin Xiao's father also nodded repeatedly beside her, his expression sincere and heartfelt. I couldn't help but laugh and cry at the same time. It seemed that Lin Xia was truly impressive, just a senior in high school, yet she had already managed to completely win over her own parents. My heart softened, and I shook my head. No need, just work in moderation. Your health is the most important thing. After saying that, she ignored the two stunned people and entered the room. After closing the door, their excited crying could be heard. They kept saying, Xiaxia has finally become sensible. The crying soon faded away. I knew they were afraid of disturbing my rest. The room wasn't luxuriously decorated, it was simply clean and tidy. And I inexplicably liked it. I fell into a dreamless sleep without a care in the world, because the past is dead, and the future is full of hope. 8. The next day, I arrived at school. Rumors about me were spreading wildly throughout the school. Did you hear? When Shu Yao was injured and hospitalized, it's serious. She's even in the ICU. Of course, the specific details were not disclosed due to the Wen family suppression. As both the class monitor and the most popular girl in class, my current identity as Lin Xia still carries some weight. I stepped forward. Classmate Wen is beautiful and kind-hearted, and she has always been very friendly to everyone. As her classmates, we must visit her, show our concern, and hope that the friendship among us can support her, bringing her endless courage to recover soon and return to campus. These words received a response from everyone, especially the male classmates who liked when Shu Yao reacted most enthusiastically. 2 weeks later, finally, the homeroom teacher received news that when Shu Yao was out of critical condition and had been transferred to a general ward, the anxious male classmates began raising money to buy gifts and flowers. Then the entire class rushed frantically to the hospital. At the door of the ward, I saw my worried parents and anxious brother, and I stepped forward confidently. You must be Wen Shu Yao's family. We're all her classmates. We heard she was injured and wanted to come see her. We hope she can regain her strength and recover soon. The three of them exchanged glances and then nodded. They didn't pay much attention to me. After all, no one knew about the soul-swapping incident yet. I was the first to step into the hospital room. The scene before me almost made me laugh out loud. When Shu Yao's head was entirely wrapped in bandages, with only her swollen eyes visible. Her left palm was missing, also wrapped in bandages. Both legs were in casts, elevated high. The classmates who entered one after another couldn't help but gasp at the sight. No one made a sound, silently filling the ward, then staring blankly at her. They knew Wen Shuyao was severely injured, but never imagined it would be this bad. Everyone had prepared a bellyful of comforting words, yet at this moment, no one could speak. The tightly closed-eyed Wen Shuyao seemed to sense something and opened her eyes. I couldn't wait another second and stepped forward, grasping her only remaining right hand. With tears in my eyes, I said, "Shuyao, you're awake. How did you end up like this? What exactly happened? You must stay strong, recover soon, and return to school. Our entire class will always be your strongest support. Please don't let anything happen to you. We'll be waiting for you to come back." Unfortunately, all I could see through Wen Shuyao's swollen eyelids was a look of bone-chilling malice and hatred. But in a moment, tears streamed down her cheeks, and her chest rose and fell rapidly. I could tell she was furious, because what had happened, only she and I knew, yet her tears stirred the sympathy of her classmates. With me taking the lead, everyone began to speak up, offering comfort, prayers, and encouragement for her. This scene, witnessed by my parents and brother, evoked a sense of genuine friendship among classmates. My fingers danced cheerfully within Wen Shuyao's palm. She stared at me blankly, clearly seeing the laughter in my eyes. Finally, a mouthful of blood gushed out. Her eyes closed as she fainted. In an instant, chaos erupted, and classmates screamed in terror, calling for the doctor. My parents and brother rushed in, angrily telling us to get out immediately. I kept my head down, silent, but inside I was rejoicing as the cursing classmates were driven out of the ward. Oh my God, did you see that? Wen Shuyao's left hand is gone, and her face was completely wrapped up. Could it be disfigured? And those legs, why do they feel? The students gathered in groups of 3 or 5, whispering among themselves. I could tell that most people were happy. After all, it's hard not to feel schadenfreude when seeing others' misfortune. With the experience from my previous life, I wasn't surprised at all. Human nature is just like this. Soon, the situation of Wen Shuyao spread from 10 to 1, and from 1 to 100, until the entire school knew about it. After this incident, the number of my admirers in class increased exponentially. Clearly, all of Wen Shuyao's simps had switched sides. There was nothing I could do. Wen Shuyao's condition was right there, now completely disabled. Even if she had all the money in the world, most people would lose interest in her. I took screenshots of every confession and complaint about Wen Shuyao on WeChat, sent them all to her, and told her I had been standing up for her all along, because when my parents and brother had driven us out of the ward, their cruel words had left a deep impression on the classmates, who all harbored resentment. As for how she would react when she saw them, I didn't care. A few days later, I received a response: "Bitch, I hope you die a miserable death." I, on the other hand, laughed heartily. 9. For a period of time, I never heard any news about Wen Shuyao again. I studied hard, and although there was still a sense of distance with my new parents, both sides were making efforts to get closer. One day, downstairs at home, the 3 of us were chatting and laughing when someone blocked our path. The masked Wen Shuyao, sitting in a wheelchair, glared at me with bloodshot eyes. Apart from an elderly servant not far away, there were no bodyguards around her. It was clear that she was not well received in the Wen family these days. "Oh, Shuyao, what are you doing here? Have you eaten? Would you like to come to my place for a simple meal?" I happily rushed forward. "Xia, this is your classmate. Come on, Lao Lin. Go buy some good food." My current mother was very warm, looking at Wen Shuyao's condition with nothing but concern in her eyes. "Get lost." Wen Shuyao looked at her parents with utter disgust, habitually hurling insults that left them stunned and at a loss for words. For some reason, in Wen Shuyao's gaze and her harsh words, they sensed a familiar taste. Seeing this, I sent my upset parents away. "Wen Shuyao, do you know I can swap souls with you?" She gritted her teeth, her hate-filled eyes almost welling up with tears. I smiled faintly, saying nothing, just watching her quietly. I knew she had so much to say. "Your cruelty is beyond what I expected. Do you know, your parents are heartless beasts. Their daughter was disfigured, lost her limbs, and became disabled. Not only did they not feel any sympathy, but when I came home to recover, they insulted and humiliated me every day, calling me a self-harming lunatic who ruined their business-marriage alliance. And your brother, he called me something inhuman, a ghostly thing, saying he wished he could drown me alive in the toilet. Of course, The most heartless one was your fiancé. He saw me once and fled in fear, never showing up again. He blocked all my contact information. By the end, when Shuyao was nearly driven to madness, I slightly curled my lips, leaned close to her ear, and whispered eerily, "And whose fault is that? This is what they call, you reap what you sow. You think this is just the outcome. Let me tell you, knowing them as I do, this is only the beginning." When Shuyao shuddered in fear, her pupils filled with terror for the future. Regaining her composure, she gritted her teeth and said, "Don't celebrate too soon. Believe me, I can make the system switch us back." I scoffed with disdain. "If you could switch, wouldn't you have done it already? What are you waiting for?" Instantly, when Shuyao was left speechless by my retort, "We've been classmates for 3 years. Do I seem like a self-harming lunatic to you?" I continued, when Shuyao instinctively shook her head. "In Lin Xiao's eyes, I have fair skin, beauty, wealth, and looks, hardly the type to self-harm." My expression instantly turned solemn as I looked at her seriously. "What if I told you it was all a coincidence? Would you believe me? My parents and brother are a bunch of psychos. That day, they drugged me with hallucinogens, and it was only after I started hallucinating that I began to self-harm. Be careful yourself. I wouldn't rule out the possibility of them drugging you again. If that happens, your life might even be at risk. As for your soul-swapping system, I only learned about it from what you just said. Of course, my earlier behavior of deliberately provoking you, I think you can understand. Having your body swapped, even if it's for the better, is something no one could accept right away. Finally, I still want to thank you for enduring the suffering on my behalf. I've had enough of that family long ago." After saying that, I ignored her and walked away on my own. I don't believe it. At least I have endless money now, while you'll always be a poor fool. From behind came Wen Shuyao's unwilling roar. I walked away cheerfully, offering no response, because there wasn't a shred of confidence in her tone. 10. To my surprise, just 3 days later, I ran into the Wen family's old servant again downstairs at home. Faintly, I could also hear the sound of Wen Shuyao crying upstairs. I raised an eyebrow and hurried back home. "Why don't you believe me? I'm really your daughter Lin Xia. I don't know why, but my soul has switched with hers. Now the Wen family treats me badly, bullying me every day. I'm going crazy." As soon as I opened the door, I saw Wen Shuyao crying and pouring her heart out. "Didn't you always hope that I would respect you and not look down on you? Fine, I'll promise you now, I'll scold you less in the future, and I won't despise you for being poor anymore. As long as you kick that fake Lin Xia out of the house, I'll agree to come back and become your daughter again." By the end, when Shuyao stopped crying, seemingly returning to her former attitude of commanding her parents around, but her parents sat on the sofa, their expressions unchanged. Listening to Wen Shuyao's words, there was no reaction, but as soon as they saw me entering, they all stood up abruptly, visibly tense. Mom rushed to me and tightly grasped my hand. "Xiaxia, don't listen to her nonsense. You will always be my only daughter. As for kicking you out of the house, that would only happen over my dead body." Dad nodded repeatedly in agreement. "Your mom is right. I wouldn't believe this soul-swapping nonsense even if I died. Besides, who would give up being a rich heiress to become the daughter of poor folks like us?" I watched their sincere expressions, feeling warmth in my heart. On the other side, Wen Shuyao's pupils dilated rapidly as she spoke in disbelief. "Have you both gone mad? I just told you so many past events, so many secrets only the 3 of us would know, and you still don't believe I'm your daughter. I've already told you, this Wen Shuyao used dark magic to swap souls with me because her body was crippled. She's an utterly vicious monster." For a moment, the new parents avoided her gaze, visibly shaken by her words. I saw it and felt a stir in my heart. It seems they truly believed in Wen Shuyao's words deep down, just like my parents in my past life. They also recognized me, but neither wanted to acknowledge it. Interesting, everything comes full circle. What I experienced in my past life, Lin Xia is now going through the same in this life. Her biological parents recognized her, but they didn't want her. Of course, there is still a difference between the two. My parents were afraid that my presence would interfere with the arranged marriage, while Lin Xia's parents simply believed I was better than their daughter. "Shut up, if you keep spreading nonsense and trying to drive a wedge between us, I'll call the police." The new mother seemed to want to reassure me, so she came over and hugged me, making her stance clear. The new father did the same, standing by my side without a word, showing his position. In an instant, when Shuyao was furious, she tore off her mask, revealing a terrifyingly ferocious face, and glared at the 3 of us. "Fine, fine, fine, You better remember this. There will come a day when you regret it." Finally, she was laboriously carried downstairs by the old servant who had rushed over. 11. My life returned to normal. My new parents and I tacitly avoided any topic related to Wen Shuyao. Not only that, they became even better to me. It seemed as if they were afraid I would disappear at any moment. However, what was bound to come still arrived. That day after school, I was blocked by a familiar Rolls-Royce. My biological parents and older brother appeared before me with agitated expressions. Beside them stood a middle-aged man in Taoist robes whose eyes lit up the moment he saw me. My brother grabbed my shoulders. With exaggerated emotion, "I told you," he said, "my gentle and virtuous little sister couldn't possibly have turned into that unsightly version of herself. We've been secretly observing you for a week. Your habits are exactly the same as Shuyao's. With the Taoist priest's confirmation, I'm absolutely certain you are my biological sister." Mom hugged me tightly, tears streaming down her face. "If it weren't for the Taoist priest coming to our house, we'd still be deceived by that wicked soul. Come on, hurry back home with Mom." Dad sighed in frustration. "Since you were possessed and had your soul swapped, why didn't you come home to find your parents? You should know that no matter what you become, even if you're a beggar on the street, your parents would accept and love you." That speech was so fake it could have been scripted. I recalled all the events of my past life and could only laugh at them. On the surface, I didn't deny it. With tears in my eyes, I said, "I'm just afraid of her." With that one sentence, the three of them were overjoyed. They never expected me to straightforwardly admit my identity. Brother patted his chest fiercely and said, "Don't be afraid, we've already locked her in the basement. You can torture her however you want. By the way, I've also informed Shin Yushuan." Dad nodded repeatedly. "You don't have to worry about the marriage alliance either. Yushuan is a good kid. After learning what happened, he expressed understanding and is willing to accept you as you are now. In the end, it all comes back to the word marriage alliance. I know full well the situation with the Wen family. Climb higher. We must rely on the Shin family." I nodded and followed them into the car. When we got home, the Taoist priest accepted a hefty fee and left with a smile. The chef prepared a large table full of my favorite dishes. My parents and brother showered me with warm affection in their eyes, although my appearance had declined considerably. As long as Shin Yushuan could accept it, the matter would ultimately be considered a success. 12. After dinner, I the key and went down to the basement. When Shuyao was lying on the ground, her eyes vacant, looking utterly lifeless, covered in bruises, it was evident she had endured inhuman treatment during this time. Even upon seeing me, she remained completely indifferent. "Shuyao, this bitch is all yours. Do whatever you want to torment her." My brother's hateful voice came from behind. Then the door closed, leaving only me and Wen Shuyao alone under the dim light. For a long time, Wen Shuyao, kill me. Lin Xiao's voice was filled with numbness, her eyes no longer holding the usual arrogance, but instead brimming with endless fear of reality. I know my brother better than anyone. In my previous life, he had kicked away even his own sister when she was in dire straits, let alone how he would treat Lin Xia. I let out a faint sigh, walked up to her, and turned her head to face me. "Have you forgotten what I told you?" I said. "I don't want to stay in this house at all." When Shuyao's eyes flickered slightly, a look of inquiry appearing in her gaze, I held up the basement key in front of her. "Despite everything, we were classmates after all. Though I can't let you go, I'll give you a chance to escape." When Shuyao smiled, laughing silently, her laughter echoing without sound, the scar on her face looked particularly hideous. Her eyes flickered, as if seeing through my thoughts. After smiling, she spoke softly, "When Shuyao, I can now be certain your self-harm definitely wasn't from taking hallucinogens." Halfway through her words, she paused, then sighed. "You must have known about the soul exchange in advance.